The delegates of the People's National Party have spoken, and they have selected Mark Golding as the 6th president of the People's National Party. Now, Mr. Peter Bunting is predicting that the people of Jamaica will be calling for the People's National Party. Former Manchester Central Member of Parliament Peter Bunting has mentioned that just as the People's National Party suffered from the impact of having to take tough economic decisions during the 2012 to 2016 administration, so too the Jamaica Labour Party will have to take these decisions and will feel the heat as a result of the hardship that has been brought on us by the pandemic. He further mentioned that it will require a well-organized People's National Party to take advantage of the fallout from the pandemic and for the party to become more attractive to the people of Jamaica. To Bunting, the last time the Jamaica Labour Party got a fairly easy wicket to bat on because the PNP government of 2012 to 2016 had taken all of the tough decisions and had implemented all of the tough measures to gain all sorts of accolades from the International Monetary Fund and the rating agencies for turning around the economy of Jamaica. He further went on to claim that the onset of the pandemic will make it difficult for the Jamaica Labour Party to be re-elected to government. This time, with the challenges of the pandemic, it will not be as easy a batting wicket. Once the People's National Party becomes organized and attractive to the people of Jamaica, combined with a much harder wicket to bat on for the government, I am confident that under the leadership of Mark Golding, we will see people calling for the People's National Party. The majority of people will be calling for the People's National Party within a couple of years. Bunting mentioned that he is willing to work with Mark Golding as the leader of the PNP. He added that he has told Comrade Golding that when he wins, whatever he asks him to do, he will be willing to support him. Bunting claims that the financial problems of the party will be solved based on the history of Mark Golding. He further went on to note that it was no secret that the party was at a financial low when he took over as General Secretary. A year or two later, Mark Golding came on board as treasurer, and his fundraising abilities at that time were instrumental in turning around the fortunes of the political organization. He provided us with sufficient resources to win a landslide election at the end of the year 2011. Bunting, who is a former presidential challenger, in September 2019 worked with his Rise United team in an attempt to wrestle power from Dr. Peter Phillips. However, he failed in that attempt and lost by 76 votes. However, the Rise United team has come back again with Mark Golding, with the Go With Golding campaign, and now finally the Rise United team has secured victory from the one PNP team in this year's presidential election. Do you also share the opinions of Peter Bunting? Do you agree that in the next 5 years, Jamaicans will now see the People's National Party as more attractive than the Jamaica Labour Party? And due to hardships within the economy and hardships in the social environment, that they will be calling for the PNP to rescue them from the Jamaica Labour Party? Well, it's a wait and see. We have no ill wishes for the Jamaican economy. We're only hoping for the best, and we're only hoping for growth and economic progress. So we have no desire to get to the place where we're in dire need of rescue from another political agency. If you agree with Bunting that the PNP will get to the place where they will be more attractive to the Jamaican electorate, and that the Jamaican electorate will be screaming for rescue from the hardships that will present itself in the economy as a result of the pandemic, well, leave your feedback down below. The political analysts all across Jamaica are calling for Mark Golding to move quickly towards restructuring and unifying the People's National Party following his election victory on November 7, 2020. After the results of the People's National Party's presidential election was announced, Mark Golding emerged victorious with 1,740 votes, defeating his opponent Lisa Hanna, who only managed to get 1,444 votes. It was a huge difference. It was a margin of victory that amounted to 296 votes in favor of Mark Golding. As the president of the People's National Party, Mark Golding now faces the huge task of uniting the PNP, which has seen elements of discord both internally and among its affiliates. This issue has been singled out as part of the reason that the political organization suffered a massive loss in the September 3rd parliamentary elections and has seemingly lost favor with the Jamaican electorate. Many persons are suggesting that there is an imperative need for restructuring and unity within the PNP at this time. According to one political expert, he was pleased with the tone of Golding's victory speech, as it sets the tone and is an important framework for the rebuilding of the People's National Party's political organization. According to that analyst, he was also pleased with the attitude that was exuded by both candidates. And this attitude from both Ms. Hanna and Mr. Golding sends a strong message to the People's National Party that there must be inclusion and unity in the political organization going forward. It was further added that Mark Golding should embrace Lisa Hanna in his quest for unity, so that both sides can become one and join together and work as one unit. The kind of vicious statements and caustic comments and the kind of divisiveness was not as obvious this time around. And this analyst believes that the votes for the inclusion and incorporation of those who supported Lisa Hanna into the rebuilding of the party is necessary. He believes that the period when Portia Simpson Miller lost to P.J. Patterson, and although she was defeated, everything was done to ensure that she remained a very central and poignant figure to the PNP's continued building and continued existence, and this was in the 1990s. The similar approach needs to be taken in this year, 2020, if the PNP intends to go on this unified path. Analysts are also cautioning that the expectation should be tempered, as the reality is that the PNP is the opposition, which was recently rejected by the Jamaican electorate at the September 3rd general election polls. It therefore means that they have to develop a framework and a plan with which to become the party to lead Jamaica. Whilst it is important to talk about the victory of Mark Golding, there is no time for celebration. It is a time for rebuilding and transformation of the political organization. Another analyst has mentioned that both Mark Golding and Lisa Hanna are worthy representatives of the PNP, and that Mark Golding's victory indicates that a majority of the delegates believed that he is the better of the two candidates. He further went on to state that Golding brings the remedy that the party needs to unite its efforts to regain political power and wrestle the governance of Jamaica from the Jamaica Labour Party. He believes that Golding brings a lot of know-how, knowledge, and that Golding is equipped with an understanding of where the party ought to go for the future to be better. At this moment, he would be very much aware that the most critical and important thing at the moment is to unite the organization. He believes that it is now up to Mark Golding, and he also believes that Mark Golding will be working towards achieving the goal of unity within the PNP. It was further added that it would also be in Golding's interest to be inclusive and to hold the hands of Lisa Hanna and her supporters in his quest to bring unity to the PNP. Chairman of the PNP's Policy Commission and Political Analyst, Thompson, has mentioned that the delegates declared their position and it must be respected. But Mark Golding's greatest task now is to articulate a compelling vision for Jamaica and the party, which will need to unite the political organization. He needs to address the issues of division that have followed the party for some time, and he needs to put the party on a course to be competitive in the next 2 to 3 years and to do well at the polls when the next elections are called in the next 5 years. It was further added that Lisa Hanna got a 45% of the votes, which shows that a fair number of delegates, or just under 50%, saw her as the candidate to lead the party. And this suggests that there is a need for unity. And this need for unity has become even more compelling and paramount. It is also expected that Lisa and other persons who did not support Mark Golding's candidacy will need to line up behind Mark Golding and give him all their full support. Another analyst has mentioned that the challenge on Saturday was perhaps one of the most consequential presidential elections that the PNP has had in its history. He further mentioned that the delegates have sent a clear signal that the better of the two candidates to unite the party and bring about the organizational restructuring, to make it a vibrant movement and to align it to its ideological roots and foundation is Mark Jefferson Golding. He further added that Hannah had put up a spirited fight and had a role to play in rebuilding the PNP, and he expects that both will work together in unison towards that specific goal so that they will have an effective opposition, with one of their goals being the priority of forming the next government of Jamaica. It should be noted that another task that is paramount is for Golding to send a signal that the differences that had previously existed in the PNP are now in the past, and that everybody needs to come under one big umbrella that is called the PNP and start to work towards building a credible opposition. At the end of it all, the credible opposition, along with a government that is held accountable for all of its actions, will create a more robust political environment in which all Jamaicans can have access to two very good contending parties who are able to articulate and argue their differences in the public so that they can make a decision about who they believe is better to lead Jamaica. It has also been mentioned that the process has begun, because within 48 hours, Mark Golding must invite Lisa Hanna to a meeting, declare that the team remains in a place, that he is not asking for any resignation of any senator. Then he must first appoint Peter Bunting to fill the vacancy in the Senate that has been left by Norman Washington Horn. So these are the most important tasks that are at hand for Mark Golding. He must bring Lisa Hanna and her team under his wings. And then he must reach out to Bunting and assign him the position of the 8th senator on the opposition side within the upper house of Jamaica. Next, he also needs to comfort all the senators with the idea that they will not need to resign unless it's their personal decision. It's a time for rebuilding, restructuring, and inclusivity. And if they don't get to this place at this very moment by starting with the unity that needs to present itself between Golding and Hanna, then it will only lead to further divisiveness within the party. And of course, it's a huge task, but I'm sure the team is talented and experienced enough to take on the challenge. One of the most important things in the world is to be a champion and a determined champion. Therefore, if you are one of the residents of Jamaica, you need to encourage that unit to work together, because the Jamaican electorate deserves to have two parties that are credible and competent in running the political affairs of Jamaica. And they deserve to be able to choose between two equally credible and qualified parties that they can depend on to lead them. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.